The first glass wasn't an accident. I made sure of that. The second one, well, by that point, I stopped pretending I cared what anyone thought. That smug jerk was still dabbing Merlot off his pants when he leaned over and whispered, "You know she deserves better, right?" It was too loud for anyone else to hear him, but I heard every syllable like it was written in fire. I didn't say anything. I just smiled. He had no idea what I'd already done, what was about to happen. Because while they mingled under string lights and took selfies with fake laughs, I had already pushed the first domino. Let me rewind. Not all the way back. You don't need our love story. That's dead now. Ashes in a memory box somewhere in the attic. What matters is this. She brought me here to show me off. He brought me here to break me. I came here to burn the whole thing down. See, when I showed up at the yacht club's private terrace that night, nobody expected me. That was the first surprise. Layla looked like someone had slapped her with a velvet glove. Pretty, stunned, fake. "Rory," she breathed, clutching her clutch like it was a lifeline. "You came." "Of course," I said. "Wouldn't miss your big night." Her promotion, her speech, her spotlight. I wasn't on the guest list. Didn't need to be. I had something better: screenshots, receipts, witnesses, and a USB drive with a 90-second video that was about to become very, very public. But first, I let him speak. Graham. Of course his name was Graham. The kind of name that sounds like it comes with a private boarding school and a father who owns golf courses. He raised his glass to me. "I was just telling everyone how Layla's been working so hard lately. Late nights, weekends, you must be very understanding." I didn't blink, just nodded. "Yeah, she has been working overtime. I'm actually proud of her." His smirk flickered for a split second. Just a glitch. But I caught it. I live for glitches like that. He thought I came unarmed. He thought I was still the doormat husband who stayed quiet, made coffee, and looked the other way. He didn't know I'd spent the last 3 weeks rebuilding myself in silence. He didn't know that I had talked to HR, to legal, to his fiancée. He didn't know that before the night ended, everyone would know who he really was, and what he'd been doing with my wife in that locked conference room during strategy meetings. So I raised my glass back to him, clinked it against his, and said, "To secrets, may they always find the light." And that was only the beginning. There's a certain look people give when they think they're better than you. Not just richer, not just more successful, but superior. Like you're a child pretending to sit at the grown-ups table. That was the look Graham gave me after our toast. It wasn't arrogant anymore. It was entitled. He thought I was here to cause a scene. He didn't realize the scene had already started the moment I walked in. Layla was still playing host. Her laugh rang louder than it needed to. Every gesture too big, too performative. I could tell she was trying to act like nothing was wrong, trying to convince herself I didn't know. But every time our eyes met, she blinked a little too fast, like she was remembering that I wasn't supposed to be here. That maybe, just maybe, I had figured it out. And she was right. I wasn't here to talk. I wasn't here to beg or plead, or even confront her in front of her perfect coworkers. That's what she expected from me. Soft, sad Rory, who never fought back, who stayed silent when she came home late, when she forgot to wear her ring, when she showered before hugging me. She thought I would swallow this betrayal the same way I'd swallowed every other humiliation. Not tonight. While she laughed and Graham schmoozed, the projection screen at the far end of the terrace flickered to life. Nobody noticed at first, too distracted by themselves. But then the music dimmed, and the host of the party, Layla's boss, tapped a microphone to introduce the tribute video celebrating her promotion. Something she'd prepared herself, apparently. Something she uploaded from her laptop earlier that afternoon. Except, I swapped the file. It took exactly 3 minutes while she was in the shower. Her laptop password was our wedding date. A joke now, really. I replaced her slideshow with mine, named it the same, timed it perfectly, and I made sure the file began with her favorite quote: "Success is nothing without integrity." I figured the irony would hit just right. The screen lit up with Layla's smiling face, followed by clips of her team congratulating her. Then came the footage. Grainy, black and white. Security camera. Office hallway. Midnight timestamp. Layla and Graham, arms around each other, kissing like teenagers, slipping into a side room and locking the door behind them. The music stopped. Conversations died mid-sentence. Glasses froze midair. Layla's hand flew to her mouth before the second clip even started. Another timestamp, another angle, this time from a hotel hallway. Same characters. Same sin. Gasps. Silence. And then the whispers began. Her boss stared at her like she'd grown horns. Graham stepped back like he'd seen a ghost. Layla looked at me. No. Through me. Like I had ripped her skin off in public. I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. Everything I needed to say had already been played in front of 50 of her coworkers, her bosses, her entire pristine world. And I wasn't even close to done. Nobody moved. It was one of those silences that vibrates in your bones. All the fake laughter, the music, the plastic clinking of champagne glasses, it died in an instant. Layla's mouth was frozen open, the kind of expression you never forget because it makes you realize how little you knew someone. Her eyes darted between the screen and the people watching, like she was trying to figure out if she could lie her way out of it. Graham? He didn't even fake innocence. He just clenched his jaw and stared down at the floor like a naughty schoolboy caught stealing test answers. The projection screen faded to black after a final clip, grainy audio of them in a hotel room. No images. Just soft, unmistakable moans and a whisper. He has no idea. That whisper was Layla's. I made sure to isolate that part. Let them hear her voice wrapped in betrayal. It played on loop for 5 seconds. Then the video ended with one slide in bold white letters. You deserve to know who you work with. Layla's boss looked physically ill. I'm not even sure he blinked. A couple of junior employees gasped audibly and backed away from her like she was contagious. One woman crossed her arms and just muttered, "Unreal," under her breath. Layla finally tried to speak. I didn't know that was going to play. This isn't what it looks like. Wrong thing to say? Her boss cut her off immediately. Don't say a word, Layla. We'll discuss this Monday, with HR. That was the first crack in her mask. Her eyes went wide. She turned to me then, finally really looking at me, like I was some unpredictable stranger. Rory, she breathed, almost begging, what did you do? I stared at her for a moment. Not with hatred, not even with anger. I just watched her, like you'd watch a dying fire that once kept you warm but now threatened to burn down the whole house. You lit the match, I said quietly. I just let it burn. Graham tried to pull her away, but she yanked her arm out of his hand like he was the problem now. That made me smile. And then I left. No dramatic walkout, no flipping tables. I just turned and walked off that yacht, down the steps, onto the pier, where a black town car was waiting with my suitcase in the trunk. I tipped the driver before I got in. I'm not a savage. But here's where it gets fun. You see, the video wasn't the only thing I'd prepared. I wasn't just out for public humiliation. I was out for total collapse. I had spent the last month carefully unwinding everything she built while she was too busy sneaking around with a man who wears cologne named after European cities. Her gym membership? Cancelled. Her joint savings access? Frozen. Our mortgage payments? Already rerouted to an account she can't touch. And her car? Leased under my name. She'd be receiving a friendly repo notice by the weekend. But the final move? I had mailed copies of the video and some bonus material from her work computer that I knew she never logged out of to Graham's fiancée. Express delivery. Signature required. I made sure of that. The game wasn't over. It was just getting interesting. The first call came before I even left the pier. I watched my phone buzz silently in the passenger seat as the yacht behind me faded into the distance. Layla's name lit up the screen, still saved with a heart emoji I no longer recognized. I didn't answer. Not because I was angry. I'd already felt everything there was to feel, but because I had no more words for someone who only listened when the house was on fire. By the time I checked into the hotel, she called 5 more times and texted things like, "We need to talk," and "Please, I didn't mean for it to go this far." I ignored every one of them. I ordered room service, ate in silence, and watched as messages kept coming in, each one a little more desperate than the last. She had no idea how deep the fallout would go. That's what happens when you spend so long thinking someone will never fight back. You don't realize the war has already begun. The next morning, I woke up to 3 voicemails. One from her, crying. One from her sister, confused. And one from Graham. His was the shortest. "You're a piece of work, man." No anger. Just shock. The kind of message someone leaves when they realize the guy they mocked might actually be smarter than they are. I smiled. I didn't want vengeance for the sake of pride. This wasn't about ego. This was about identity, about what it does to a man when the one person who's supposed to be his teammate turns him into a ghost in his own marriage. Layla didn't cheat because I was a bad husband. She cheated because she thought she could do better. Because somewhere along the way, she decided I wasn't enough. But what she never understood is that I didn't need to scream to destroy her world. I just had to stop protecting it. By Monday morning, the HR bomb had detonated. A friend from the inside, not Layla's friend anymore, texted me a single sentence. They suspended them both. I didn't reply. I just saved the message. Proof that sometimes the universe really does believe in poetic justice. But what hit Layla hardest wasn't the job. It wasn't even the exposure. It was when she came home and found the house. Our house. Cold, dark, and empty. I had moved out 2 days before the party. Everything I needed was gone. Clothes, tools, photo albums, my grandfather's watch. All gone. What I left behind was silence, the kind that echoes harder than shouting. She must have stood in that living room for hours, waiting for me to walk through the door like always. But I wouldn't, because for the first time in years, I wasn't coming back. That evening, she left a long voicemail. Said she panicked, that it wasn't serious, that she was confused, and it didn't mean anything. All the classic hits from the Cheaters playlist. I listened once, then deleted it. I didn't need explanations anymore. I needed space, and not just physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual. I needed to reclaim the version of me that existed before Layla's world made me smaller. The man who used to build things, fix things, feel things. Not the man who kept his head down while his wife flirted with someone shinier. She'd underestimated the quiet ones. Everyone always does. By Wednesday, she showed up at my work. I saw her through the window of the break room, standing next to my truck, arms crossed, wrapped in that long gray coat I bought her 3 Christmases ago. I almost didn't recognize her. No heels, no makeup, no performance. Just Layla, stripped down, like reality had finally sunk its claws into her. My coworker Greg whistled low and said, "Damn, that your wife? She looks like she just got served papers." I didn't answer. I tossed my empty coffee cup, grabbed my wrench, and walked past her like she was a stranger asking for directions. "Rory," she said quickly, blocking my path. "Please. Just 5 minutes." I didn't stop walking. 5 minutes was all it took for you to throw away 7 years. She followed me, of course, all the way to the back alley behind the warehouse, where the smell of diesel and sawdust drowned out the perfume she wore, my favorite, the one she only used on nights she planned to get what she wanted. "This is not you," she said, voice trembling. "You don't do things like this. You don't humiliate people." I turned slowly and looked her dead in the eye. "You don't get to define who I am anymore." Her expression cracked, like she finally realized I wasn't bluffing, that I wasn't just hurt. I was done. She kept talking, fast, desperate. Said she wanted to explain, to tell me the whole truth. Said it started as a one-time mistake, but turned into something complicated. Said she missed me, that she didn't know how far it would go. I let her ramble. I stood there in silence while she tried to pull the pieces of her shattered image back into something resembling a wife. But I wasn't interested in repairs. I had been patching leaks in our relationship for years while she drilled holes beneath the surface. No more duct tape. No more pretending. "I didn't ruin us," I said. "I just revealed what you were hiding." That line landed like a bullet. She backed up, breath hitching, eyes glossy but not crying. "Not yet. I made a mistake. I lost myself. But I never stopped loving you." I laughed, bitter and dry. "No. You just stopped respecting me. And once that goes, love is just a leash." She didn't follow me after that. But that night, I got an email from her lawyer. The subject line was polite, request for mediation meeting. But the timing was clear. She was cornered, and like most people with power slipping through their fingers, she was trying to regain control through paperwork and controlled narratives. Too late. I replied with a one-line response. "All communication will go through mine." And I CC'd my attorney. Then I hit send and turned off my phone. What Layla never understood is that I didn't want to win. I wasn't keeping score. I wasn't looking to hurt her the way she hurt me. I just wanted truth. Raw, ugly, unedited. And I wanted the silence that comes after truth detonates in the center of a life built on lies. I was sleeping better now. Not longer, but deeper. There were no more late-night questions, no more whispered doubts, no more phantom smiles of a woman already gone. All that was left was what came next. And that would be the part no one saw coming. By the end of the week, she went public. Layla posted a carefully worded reflection on her LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn, titled On Professional Boundaries and Personal Growth. It was one of those vague, corporate-toned apologies that said everything and nothing at the same time. She didn't name names. She didn't admit what she did. But she painted herself as someone learning from mistakes, someone navigating personal storms. The post had 327 likes by the time someone forwarded it to me. Her old manager even commented, "Proud of your honesty and strength." I nearly choked on my coffee. She wasn't sorry. She was just scared. Scared of losing status, losing face, losing the pristine professional image she'd curated like an Instagram influencer building a brand. And now that it was slipping, she wasn't trying to make things right. She was trying to rewrite the ending before anyone realized who she really was. But the thing about digital footprints? They don't vanish with a motivational quote and a headshot in grayscale. I didn't respond publicly. I didn't need to. But I did quietly forward her post to Graham's fiancée, just in case she hadn't seen the full scope of the damage yet. Her reply was a single sentence. "She still thinks this is salvageable." That's adorable. Turns out Graham's engagement didn't survive the week. Guess Layla wasn't the only one playing spin control. Meanwhile, my life had shifted into something resembling peace. I rented a small place outside of town. Quiet. Nothing fancy. A chipped porch, creaky floorboards, and the sound of birds in the morning. I fixed the plumbing myself. Rewired the outlets. Hung photos that weren't edited for aesthetics, but meant something. For the first time in years, my life wasn't a set piece in someone else's performance. But Layla wasn't done. She tried one last move, a letter. Handwritten. Delivered to my mailbox in a white envelope, sealed with red wax like we were characters in some period drama. It wasn't elegant. It was messy, blotchy, like she wrote it while crying. I waited 2 days before I opened it. I don't know why. Maybe part of me still wanted to believe there was a version of her that felt real pain, not just consequences. The letter was 6 pages. It started with, "You didn't deserve what I did." Promising. But by the 3rd paragraph, it shifted into excuses. Childhood trauma, fear of failure, the pressure to impress her colleagues, the loneliness she claimed to feel even when we were in the same room. All of it reeking of the same deflection I'd learned to spot years ago, the kind that sounds like remorse but lands like a sales pitch. The only part that felt genuine was the final line. "I didn't think you'd ever leave me." And that was the entire truth in a single sentence. She never believed I had it in me. Not the courage, not the clarity, not the fire. She thought I'd stay, that I'd stew in my own silence, that I'd break under the weight of humiliation and return to her just to feel wanted again. But the man she humiliated was gone, and the man who remained, he was just getting started. I hadn't heard her voice in 3 weeks. Not since she stood in that parking lot behind my job, trying to cry her way back into the version of me that used to flinch when she raised her voice. I thought she might give up after the letter. I thought maybe she'd finally accept that this time the mask had cracked too wide to wear again. But Layla never accepted defeat. Not because she was brave, but because she'd never met a version of herself that wasn't adored. So when I heard a knock at my door just past 9 p.m., I already knew who it was. The funny part? I wasn't even home. I was sitting on the back porch of my neighbor's place, nursing a beer and swapping renovation ideas with his teenage son, who'd just gotten into trade school. I liked it there, the simplicity, the absence of performance. No one cared about job titles or dinner parties or which wine paired with lamb. Just people talking like people. Unfiltered. Honest. It wasn't until I checked my security app that I saw her, standing on my porch, arms wrapped around herself, wearing one of my old hoodies like it still meant something. She knocked again, rang the bell, looked directly into the camera, and said, "Rory, I know you're home." I watched her wait for 10 minutes. Then 20. She sat down on the steps eventually, pulled her knees to her chest, and stared out into the street like it owed her something. A few cars passed. The wind picked up. She didn't move. Part of me wondered if she really believed she was going to fix this. That all it would take was one long stare and some trembling voice about how much she missed us. But there was no us left. That night, I didn't come home. I slept on my neighbor's couch, ate eggs with his kid the next morning, and watched Layla leave through the Ring camera just after sunrise, shoulders hunched, mascara smudged, dignity dragging behind her like a tattered scarf. I thought that would be it. But I underestimated her one last time. 2 days later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something in me itched. I answered. "Mr. Holloway," the voice said. "This is Amanda with the county clerk's office. Your wife's attorney filed an objection to the asset division. She's requesting a formal hearing." I didn't speak. "She claims you intentionally sabotaged her income." The woman continued, voice polite, professional, slightly exhausted. "Says the video you showed publicly led to career damages. She's seeking compensatory spousal support." I laughed, right there on the phone. A long, joyless laugh that startled the clerk into silence. "She's suing me for what she did. She claims she was publicly defamed." I shook my head slowly. "No, ma'am. She was just revealed." That afternoon, I met with my attorney. We went over everything again, the evidence, the timelines, the digital logs. We built a timeline that didn't just expose her affair, but laid out how she leveraged her position at work to protect it. How her affair wasn't a private misstep, it was a professional breach of ethics, complete with misuse of company funds and after-hours meetings billed as client engagements. The difference between revenge and exposure is paper trails. And I had all of them. Emails, swipe card records, hotel invoices under the corporate account. I even had screenshots of Slack messages she never deleted, her bragging to a coworker that Rory would never leave. "He's too nice to break." That phrase became our final exhibit. Her new lawyer, some tired man with thinning hair and dollar store cufflinks, tried to paint me as vindictive, said I embarrassed her in public. Then I set a trap. But my lawyer calmly replied, "You can't trap someone into betraying their own life. You just give them enough space to show you who they really are." The judge agreed. Her petition was denied. Layla would get no support, no home, and no control over the story she tried so hard to twist. But what she would get was something far worse. The one thing she never planned for. Obscurity. The court ruling didn't make me feel triumphant. There wasn't some victorious swell of music in my head, no slow-motion high-five as we walked out of the building. In truth, it felt quiet, clean, like the sound of a door softly closing behind you. Not with anger, but with finality. And sometimes, that's all healing really is. The silence that follows chaos. The stillness that lets you breathe again. Layla didn't say a word as the decision was read. She didn't look at me. She just nodded, gathered her things, and walked out of the courtroom like a shadow slipping down a hallway. No scene, no tears, no last-minute apologies. And I was grateful for that. Because this wasn't about punishing her anymore. It was about freeing myself. In the weeks that followed, the dust finally settled. The legal stuff faded. The phone stopped buzzing. Her name disappeared from the accounts, the mailbox, my vocabulary. And as for me, I finally started living for someone I hadn't thought about in a long, long time. Myself. I started small. I bought a used truck. Started taking weekend jobs, not because I needed the money, but because working with my hands made me feel real again. I rebuilt furniture for people who couldn't afford new stuff. I fixed fences. One afternoon, I helped an older woman retile her kitchen, and when we were done, she gave me a slice of peach pie and said, "You remind me of my husband." He was quiet, too, but when he spoke, people listened. That night, I cried, not from sadness, but from finally recognizing myself in someone else's words. I even signed up for a local woodworking class. Every Tuesday, I sat in a dusty garage with 6 other people and sanded pieces of maple until my hands ached. There was no pressure, no performance, just the sound of tools and soft conversation and the satisfaction of creation, of building instead of breaking. And that's where I met her. Her name was Mallory. She had paint under her nails and an old soul in her smile. She didn't ask me what I did for a living. She asked what kind of music I liked, what my favorite sandwich was, whether I believed in ghosts. We talked for hours about nothing, which somehow felt like everything. I didn't tell her about Layla at first. I didn't want that to define me anymore. But when I did, she didn't flinch. She didn't pity me. She just nodded and said, "Sometimes, you don't realize how dark it was until you finally see light again." She was right. The healing didn't come from revenge. It didn't come from court rulings or frozen accounts or public exposures. It came from the choice to move forward. The quiet, stubborn decision to believe that love wasn't dead, just misplaced, abused, ignored, but never gone. I still think about the night on the yacht sometimes. How small I felt. How powerless. But now, when I remember it, I don't see a man being humiliated. I see a man at the edge of something greater, someone who didn't let betrayal become his biography. I was never her failure. I was my own beginning. And now, I'm finally free to write the rest of the story on my own terms.